So I'm sitting on this hard plastic bench seat. My knees, they're jammed against the seat in front of me. My hands bound behind my back with cold steel handcuffs. You see, I've just been arrested for the 4th time in 3 years, wondering, how did I end up here again? How is it that I can be so responsible and productive in some areas of my life and yet so dysfunctional in others? I didn't know anything about the dis-ease of addiction, the chronic and progressive nature of illness. I was trying to emulate the people that I looked up to. You work really hard. You love your family. You participate in your community. And oh yes, baby, you have a lot of fun on the weekend. I was put on strict probation, forced into drug and alcohol treatment. I would go to work during the day and group therapy at night. In the beginning, all I could focus on was how I didn't belong here. I'm not like these people. I don't look like them. I don't talk like them. My skin color, religious and spiritual beliefs, sexual preference and orientation, it's all different. I don't even use those drugs that way. I am not like you. One of the hardest things for me to get around was I couldn't fathom my life without at least some substance in it, like alcohol, for example. Like everybody drinks alcohol, right? And what about marijuana? Marijuana, it's natural. It's from Mother Nature. If you look at that billboard out there, it's medicinal. If you ask my buddies at the time, you can't even get addicted to that stuff. Young people, that is not true, by the way. With the help of a number of counselors, mentors, sponsors, a lot of support groups. Last September, I celebrated 22 years in recovery from drug and alcohol addiction. For about the last 5 years, I've worked in the mental health and addiction field. I travel across the country talking about wellness and prevention and stigma. We put on events like crisis intervention trainings, overdose and suicide awareness events, stigma rallies, all in an effort to make people more comfortable asking for help. Often they'll bring in like experts, and they'll talk about tips and tricks and life hacks and warning signs. They'll talk about how anxiety, depression, isolation, loneliness, overdose, suicide, it's all on the rise. Maybe they'll bring a guy like me out who will tell a feel-good recovery story about tragedy and redemption. And just like you did, everybody will clap. They'll say, way to go. They need you. You know, those people with the really big problems. I mean, we've got issues, but we don't need therapy or anything. Herein lies the biggest mistake we're making around mental health and addiction stigma, is we often think it's about them. By the time someone ends up in the back of a police car or a hospital or the principal's office, they've been struggling for years. Family, how do we get into the prevention business instead of the wait until something bad happens business? One of my favorite authors, his name is John Bradshaw. He was a family systems therapist, a recovering alcoholic, a New York Times bestselling author way back in the 90s. That's funny, way back, right? Way back in the 90s. John Bradshaw would say that our issue is not mental health and addiction. Our issue is emotional dysfunction. Emotional dysfunction. How do I handle my feelings When someone says, how do you feel? Can you actually identify the feeling and communicate it in a responsible and productive way? Or are you shut down, disconnected, and numb? Some of you might be thinking, well, I'm really good at handling my feelings. And at any given moment, you could be on an emotional roller coaster and you insist that me and everyone else come along with you. Or maybe you're just fine. You know the type. It's fine, just sweeping everything under the rug over here, fine. Granny just got out of the psych ward again, but no problems here. We are good to go. Children are looking around like, is anybody going to say anything? Can someone please show an emotion? I'm confused. Our boy, Johnny Bradshaw, he would say that our society is emotionally sick because our families are emotionally sick. And our families are sick because we are living by inherited rules we didn't write. What do inherited rules and my feelings have to do with each other? You see, often the things and the problems and challenges that we're having in our house today are often attached to belief systems and inherited rules from generations past. Inherited rules like men don't cry. You know that one. If men don't cry, then boys don't cry. What do we do with those emotions? You better stuff it down, do something with it, because they are not welcome here. Here's another one. Ladies don't dress like that, talk like that, look like that. Who she is not enough. Girl, you better put some makeup on and get out there and perform. Do not let them see you like that. Here's a fave. What happens in this house, are we related? What happens in this house stays in this house. Now, I'm by no means telling you to put all your business on the street. But what I'm saying is, this is where children learn how to keep secrets. You better not tell anybody. You better not let anybody know how mom and dad really treat each other in this house. Something is wrong here, and you better keep your mouth shut. You know, it's 2024, and there are still things happening in households today that if it happened in public, you might get arrested for assault. Now, luckily, we're getting further and further from this behavior, but boy, some of us can wield shame and guilt to get exactly what we want. I can cut you to the bone without laying a finger on you. You see, family, I'm not talking about mental health and addiction. Right? I'm talking about how do I handle my feelings? Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Ha ha! Here's the answer. It's my parents' fault. I love that one. I would much rather blame you for how I feel and behave. But to be fair, we cannot blame our caregivers for operating under the belief systems and understanding of the time. Most of our caregivers did the best they could with what they had. My mother was a great mother, still is. She raised us, she cooked, she cleaned, she ran a business. She dealt with my father, who is a hardworking and very charismatic man, but boy, was he a handful. You know, you might also know that when my mother was 6 years old, she was dropped off at a Church of Christ children's home. They said, we're doing it for your own good. And she would say that as well. But do you think at that children's home, they cared about her feelings or what she thought about how she was being raised? If we are going to improve mental health and addiction stigma, we got to quit talking so much about symptoms and get into the roots. I'm not giving you someone to blame. I'm giving you somewhere to look. Family, we got to look deeper. We can't just look for a quick fix or a life hack. I got to get in it. About 8 years ago, I became a father. And I tell you what, I was an excellent parent until I had a child. They don't tell you how hard it is, right? A couple years ago, I started having these big emotional outbursts in my home. It was very uncharacteristic for me because I prided myself on being calm, cool, and collected. Right? I would have these big anger and rage outbursts. I was doing things in my home that I swore I would never do. Full of shame, guilt, embarrassment. Now think about this. How easy would it have been for me to go, well, that's just the way it is. That's how I do it. You're lucky because in the 80s we used to use belts. You should be happy. Luckily, for the last 20-something years, I've been in a self-discovery process. So I like mentors and accountability partners and support groups. And so I started working with this counselor because apparently being married a long time and having children can be stressful. And I started working with this counselor because I felt like my childhood was being triggered. Like there were things down in there, even though I've done a lot of work, there were things down there that I couldn't touch. I didn't know what it was. With the help of that professional, what I discovered was when I used to get in trouble, first off, I thought I was bad and defective, right? When my parents would yell at me or they would fight amongst each other, I didn't know how stressful parenting and paying bills and working was. I thought it was about me. I thought it was my fault. So I came up with a genius strategy. Everybody's got them. They're called coping mechanisms. They're called survival strategies, right? This is when I was a little boy. I decided, first, big emotions are scary and dangerous, especially anger, right? It made me feel so uncomfortable. So I decided I'm going to be liked by everyone. That's a good strategy, isn't it? I wanted to be your friend and her friend. I was going to be a chameleon. You tell me who you want me to be and I'll be it. I put your needs above mine and called it service. Now, some of y'all might recognize this as people-pleasing, codependency, and enabling. And you would be right. Now, I called it genius because it kept me safe. Now, hear how crazy this is. The reason emotional dysfunction and the way that I behave is very difficult to identify because I was affirmed for the behavior. Everybody told me how much they liked me and how good of a friend I was. I got high on affirmation, right? I didn't know that me being a nice guy, putting your needs above mine, was a coping strategy from childhood. Family, I'm not talking about mental health and addiction. With that professional, that therapist, I also learned that I had a lot of repressed anger, rage, unresolved grief, and sadness. You know, all those emotions that I just, as my in-laws would say, just keep calm and carry on. They're from over there across the pond. Stiff upper lip, don't let them see you sweat. I would just stuff it down. I didn't know that's what it was. Family, if we're going to change the perspective of mental health and addiction, we've got to reframe. We've got to start talking about mental and emotional wellness, mental and emotional fitness. We've got to normalize the basics like coaching, counseling, and support groups. We need to make coaching, counseling, and support groups as common as going to the gym or hiring a personal trainer. The amount of time someone says, oh, I've really got a problem. I don't need those meetings over there. I mean, it's not that bad. Right? We've got to change how we think about it. We got to change how we think about the time spent. Let me explain. If I told you that I want to lose some weight, right? I want to get fit. You would probably expect that I, let's say, work out 4, 5, 6 days a week. You might expect that I change my eating, my shopping and cooking habits. You might expect that I join a gym or maybe go to some group fitness classes, have accountability partners so I don't feel alone. Maybe if I got the money, I'll hire a professional. That makes sense, doesn't it? Now, if you add up that time, all the hours working out, cooking, cleaning, talk, that's about 10 to 15 hours a week. You with me? But when it comes to saving a marriage, dealing with PTSD as a first responder, military person, or growing up in, I don't know, a children's home, helping a child struggling with anxiety and depression, addressing how I am abusing drugs, alcohol, food, stuff you find on the internet, video games, overworking, underworking. You think that you can handle that seeing a counselor 1 hour a month? Family, we got to start talking about mental and emotional wellness that we do on a daily basis. Long-form meditation, journaling, positive literature, accountability partners, utilizing the most underutilized resource we have at our fingertips that is mostly free, called peer-led support groups. Now, we are further along in mental health and addiction or mental and emotional health care than we've ever been. There's books, there's TEDxTalks, there's YouTube strategies, there's TikTok parenting tips. But so many of us are doing this like in a vacuum. It's too embarrassing and scary to share with strangers. Peer-led support groups means I've been there before. Me too. I know how you feel. I know what it feels like to feel like a failure as a father. Me too. I can help you. Right? But we got to get into action, family. Right? We can't keep focusing on them. I'll say this and wrap up. In all the personal development that I did, everybody's trying to answer the same question. Questions. Do I belong? Do I matter? Am I good enough, smart enough, pretty enough? Do I work hard enough? Can I do it? Is my value attached to my career, my job, my relationship? Right? But most of us are not putting ourselves in environments to answer those questions. So if any of you have someone in your life struggling with mental health, struggling with addiction, other behaviors that can be problematic, I know you want to help them. I know you are desperate. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. I want to help them. The number one way you can help them is you look in the mirror and you say, I'm going to go to those meetings. Family meetings, support meetings, couples meetings. I'm going to go. I'm going to hire a counselor or a therapist. I'm going to start a meditation practice even though I can't quiet my mind. Me neither. It takes work. I'm going to do it. Be a do as I doer as opposed to a do as I sayer. Because the family, the solution is in the mirror. I love you. Thank you for letting me share. Yeah.